Hey everybody, the following video is a reading of an email I received on November 4th, 2015. It was sent from an anonymous email address that was removed before I could even reply to say thank you to this individual for sending me his story. Ultimately, I'll leave it up to you to decide as to its authenticity. I will say that the locations and places mentioned within the email do check out to be legitimate, accurately described, and geographically correct. I should also tell you that parts of this email have been omitted, as I believe some of the information was not meant to be read publicly. The information revealed in the omitted parts also points to the sender, whom I will refer to as Mr. Blank, as having very sensitive and intimate hidden knowledge. I know this sounds cryptic, and it is meant to be. The mystery and information that Mr. Blank discloses goes all the way to the top. I will also say that Mr. Blank certainly has the mentality and the playfulness attributes of a genuine hacker. I believe there is much more to his story than what is told here, or even what he provided in the omitted parts. I would also like to thank Mr. Blank for providing me the honor to tell his story on this channel. I hope all of you will join me in wishing him safe travels and the best of luck, with much respect. I do believe I know who you are, Mr. Blank. You have left a few comments on this channel, if I am correct. I do not wish to contact you on YouTube because, one, I don't want to bring any unwanted attention to you, or certainly don't want to put you in any kind of danger whatsoever. And two, I'm not 100% certain that I am correct. But if you're listening, please feel free to pass along any additional information that you may feel comfortable with. And now, to the email from Mr. Blank. Hello. I would first like to tell you about myself. I am, or was, a hacker. Whether I am still active or not is irrelevant. The World Wide Web is not a place where we rest. We barely ever come to the surface. I mainly browse through networks, maybe copying a file here or there. I'm not as malicious as I used to be. And you do not have to worry about me, but maybe this story. First off, as I've stated earlier, I am not malicious anymore. So that being stated, I want to let everyone know how to safely connect to the Onion router, Tor. To keep things simple, this is for the common person with no criminal intent, not for hackers or any criminal. So keep that in mind. First of all, do not use a Windows operating system. I don't know how or why people still do this. The reason for this is there is something called local leakage, which is caused by Java or any Microsoft-based script. Any sniffer can pick this up. Secondly, use Unix. Tails works okay too, but it's not as good. Put the operating system and Tor on a flash drive, and then boot from the flash. And third, this is how most get doxxed. Uninstall all webcam drivers and programs within your Microsoft operating system. If I can get into your webcam and take a screenshot, then you're owned. Google image reverse search. Now I have your Facebook, Twitter, all social media, etc. I am not on social media, mainly for this reason. Lastly, do not get a VPN. Get a SSH tunnel. It is much more secure at the moment. With all the malware and SIGINT surrounding the VPN networks, you cannot trust any US-based VPN. Some even say any VPN provider within the United States. Now, with that out of the way, I will begin my story. In the beginning, names and times have been changed to protect identities. I started off learning about programs and script writing when Counter-Strike 1.0 came out back in the late 90s. I would sell config.cfg for the game based off of clients' hardware to optimize the performance of this game. A worthless $10, and I'll write the best.cfg to optimize the game for you. Now, I won't tell you how old I was, but I will say I was in my teens. I received an invite one day after school inviting me to a group called the Cool Kids Crew, or the KKK. The name of this group changes almost every month or so, but for all intents and purposes, we will refer to them as the Cool Kids Crew. Within an embedded IRC network, the Cool Kids Crew was a wide array of people from all different countries and different perspectives on everything. Though they all had one goal in common: to share knowledge and skill. It was a collective of extremely bright people. Now, I personally am not the brightest. I'm okay as to retain and solve mathematical information and equations. I could do that like a pro. But I couldn't write a sentence to save my life. Funny how the brains work, right? Anyway, this group taught me everything. And they were always there, willing to help. There was a lot of mutual respect among each other. Before Tor, it was a complete pain in the ass to connect to networks that couldn't be obtained by indexers such as Google or Bing. So, yes, I know how to search without it. But on December 20th, 2012, that all changed with the public release of the Onion Router, or Tor. At this point, I was still a malicious little fuck that felt like the world was against me. I do not condone any of my actions, and hate to think that I was a big of a little shit or troll online as I was, truly scaring kids. I can say with some certainty that one or two of the deep web stories of people getting hacked was probably just us. Just a troll, though. We were teens, not murderers. And for those stories with the murderers, they are mostly just BS. I mean, it is possible, but mostly, they were just trolls looking for a good scare. First off, if you're thinking of going deep, the Hidden Wiki won't allow this. It will allow you to get into a surface of the deep web, nothing more, if you want to go further. So first I started my search as I did most days after work, compiling my own networks that are not on the Hidden Wiki. I was going through a network log, just to try to see how secure the network actually was. I was looking into how to shell an onion site. The log was encrypted, which is pretty standard, but the funny thing was, it was an old encryption. Idiots, I thought. Well, to this day, I still don't know who was the cat and who was the mouse. I shared my finding with the Cool Kids Crew, and one of my friends that I had grown to trust, we shall call him Impulse, said he could decide the encryption for me. I could have done this, but why would I when someone else was going to, right? The next day I came home, and there it was. All different links, IPS actions, associated with that IPS. Everything. There was one IP that stuck out like a sore thumb. It was right there. We all discussed why this IP frequently visited the site. Well, it was a proxy. Go figure. But Impulse said he'd be able to get the actual IP. Okay, I said. Let's see who it is. About 2.5 weeks went by. At this point, I was honestly working on other things. But I received a message. Impulse had gotten the IP. I sat up for hours, waiting for my chance to scare whoever this was behind the IP. I tried to dox the IP. Nothing came up. Not even an ISP provider. So, I know he's got a VPN hardware anonymizer that simply plugs into one of your router ports and redirects you around your ISP provider. How do I know this? I have one too. You cannot purchase them. Anonibox and similar pieces of hardware on the market are frauds, so don't waste your money. Just research it and make your own if you want one. I waited almost all night for this guy to connect. He never connected. I would have started off with the usual stuff, opening his CD tray remotely and turning off his monitor. A message, though, popped up on the network that was not encrypted with a timestamp of a second ago. It read, "Are you enjoying our mock network?" I ran a protocol tool similar to Sharkwire. At this point, Impulse was helping me. There was a submask within the mock network that seemed to be remotely accessing the mock network. Impulse got another friend in on the action, who would have truly helped us if anyone could. A second message appeared as we were tearing apart the network. There is no point in going any further. You will find nothing. And for 2 hours, we didn't find anything. And there were no more messages. At this point, it was close to 6 a.m., and I had to go to work. When I came home, I grabbed the mail and turned on the TV and played with the dog. I cannot specify the breed because it is illegal in most states. And yes, I am from the United States. It is a big dog that is half wild. My Vanguard. After dinner, I went through my mail. There was one envelope with no return or stamps. Someone put this in my mailbox. Maybe an RSV for a birthday party, I thought, as I tore open the envelope. At first I thought it was empty, but when I looked down into my lap, there was a small piece of paper, like the ones inside fortune cookies you can find at Chinese restaurants. It had a string of numbers. I didn't know what they represented at first. I tried inputting the string of numbers and letters into the Onion router, and nothing. Then I tried converting them. It looked to me like some sort of hexadecimal string of numbers, but nothing in deci, text, rot 13, nothing. I messaged Impulse about it. He didn't respond for several minutes, which isn't like him. He was pretty freaked out. I could tell this because he was misspelling everything. He said his friend the other night hasn't been online. Well, I thought, it's only been 1 day. Then he replied that he too got string in his mail also. But he also got a Polaroid picture. I never saw this Polaroid picture, but he described it as a picture of a mutilated girl. He said he knew that the friend he had brought in to help us was a girl, and there was a timestamp on the Polaroid. But with his note, it also stated not to look any further, and to only use the instructions that were given to us. He knew what we were searching for, and he or she could help as long as we followed the instructions. He also stated that they do not play well with others. Impulse said that the number wasn't an onion, and he said he couldn't believe that I'd forgotten so fast. It was a string of commands like we used before Tor. We talked it over for about a week. We realized at this point we were on our own and shouldn't bring anyone else into this with everything that was going on. And I was not fully convinced, as Impulse was, that this was legit. Probably just some other troll. I finally convinced Impulse to do it, but he said he would only do it if we met in person and if we did it together, almost like a LAN party. At this point, I really knew he was freaked out. Now, he is known for mining Bitcoin and even other currencies, so as far as money went, there was no issue. So we agreed to meet in San Francisco at a cafe called Joe's off of 20th something and Geary. I had some fake IDs, and I flew into San Francisco no problem. I didn't have a picture of Impulse, or even a real name. I walked to the front of Joe's cafe. It had a big window looking in. It was crowded as all hell. I sat there staring for 5 minutes, it seemed like, when I hear a voice call out my alias. He was a skinny kid like me, approached. He was about a few inches shorter than I was. He explained that he had been paranoid for so long. Now, being the stoner that I was at the time, I told him to chill and smoke a spliff in the park. I found some easy. San Fran, what can I say? Thanks to the tenderloin, right? It calmed him down greatly. We started that night when Impulse seemed to be a little more loose and determined not to let this dickwipe win. I told him they probably did it through a layer of 7 DDoS attacks on his friend's network, and then sent you that just to scare you. This made sense. With layer 7s, your network is at the control of the DDoSer. This thought put his mind at ease. I only wish it were true. We followed a string of commands, throwing it through all kinds of networks until we found it, right where they wanted us to be. Now, Impulse, I will say, came from an outstanding computer science college in the city of Cambridge, Massachusetts. He studied mainly general computer programming and algorithm-based programming. And he was one of the best, I might add, which is something I don't think they ever saw coming. He encrypted everything, to the point that if our computer went into sleep mode, it would still encrypt every aspect of what was on our machines. So, good going, Impulse. Upon the final command, it prompted us with a directory that contained message boards and all kinds of videos as well. We searched through a lot of it. It seemed to be a collection of knowledge, like our group, but they were far more advanced than I could have ever imagined being. They had stuff from math problems to networking to killings. It was a masterpiece of information. What the fuck is this, I thought. They had everything from a collection of different cults, but one stood out. I will leave it unnamed. It was a cult that we found out after digging for another 20 minutes or so, that seemed to be all over this network. We tried searching them on our phone, so we didn't bump into the .coms on Tor. Rookie mistake. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing on them, on the World Wide Web. Interesting, I thought, because with all the coverage of the deep web, I figured something must arise from this. But, a goose egg. I returned to the directory, seeing a brand new message posted less than a minute ago. I see you're following the obligation you had to your friend. This is us. Would you like to look deeper? We did not respond, In about another 10 minutes or so, another message popped up on the board. This is starting to get really annoying. I thought, fuck this guy. I'm dropping a worm and I'm going to have your ass by dawn. But Impulse was already on it. He dropped a string of worms that I have never seen before. It was masked so well. We drank a beer, sitting and waiting, until another message popped up. This is all we needed from you. Our computer's locked. I couldn't even move the mouse. We pulled the Ethernet cables and packed up the equipment so fast and got out of there faster than anyone else could have. I swear. We didn't even bother to check out of the hotel. We just went straight to another. We were freaked out. Was that the government or something? How the hell did they do that? We tried to get as much sleep as possible. All I could think about was how much damage did they cause? I mean, they could have destroyed my Hackbot network. I'd be screwed. Years of work down the drain. The next morning, I promised a friend from my high school that I'd meet up with him. I left Impulse asleep in the hotel. He knew I'd be back after I met my friend. I told him about it the night before. I met my buddy, Tom, for breakfast. We talked about high school and all the shit we used to get into. We were weird as hell in the innocent, laughable way. And I felt like myself again. But then, I realized it had been 3 hours already. So Tom and I went to go get Impulse. We opened the door, and there was absolutely nothing in the room. Not even Impulse. I was confused. I called Impulse multiple times. My computer was gone, and I was pissed. i7, 2.8 quad, 32 gig mem, and it was a laptop I built myself. You can imagine how much that was. Shit, I thought. I kept sending messages to his phone. Where did you go? Are you okay? Where are you? If you stole my shit, you are fucking dead. About after 5 minutes of this, I got a text from an unfamiliar number. This mysterious text contained only one word. Run. Now, Tom was not good with computers, but he was a drug dealer and a pot grower who always carried, but I do not. Tom was very calm with the whole situation after I told him what had happened in a nutshell. He stated there was nothing to fear anymore. This struck me as odd. I didn't know Tom much after high school. He moved here after he was 18, so we never hung out in person. He was my best friend in high school. I only shot the occasional email to him of a funny video or GIF I came across. He looked the same, too. I looked at him, and he had a weird stare, but he was a weird guy. Nothing to be suspicious about. Until I noticed that Tom was pressing a button in his hand. I didn't know what it did from looking at it, but I had an idea. I told Tom I'd be right back. I wanted to check with the office to see if Impulse checked out. He didn't want me to go, but I told him to pick me up in the front office because we didn't need to be here anymore. I strolled into the office lobby casually. Tom was already in front, staring through the glass. I didn't ask the receptionist a damn thing. I walked into the bathroom, walked back out, and ran. I ran and ran for what seemed like all day. I didn't know what to do. I eventually arrived at a place called Dead Man's Drop in Golden Gate State Park. I checked my phone. One new message from Tom. I see you have figured out we are everywhere. I eventually got out of San Fran and moved to Vancouver. But that didn't last long. I've changed identities 3 times now, and it seems like they are always toying with me. I looked into my friend Tom one day from a public Wi-Fi. What I saw scared the living shit out of me. My friend Tom died in a car accident right after high school. I never knew this because of my lifestyle and the fact that we moved. For weeks, I had a constant shiver going down my back. Who the hell have I been emailing for the last 8 fucking years then? Makes no sense at all. About a year later, I have found peace finally, and went to go visit an ex of mine down in Sarasota, Florida. I was there just for the weekend. I woke up one morning early. I never sleep past 7:30 a.m., no matter what. My ex was fast asleep. I decided to go for a walk and get some coffee for me and her. I sat down at the cafe and I admired all the happy people. I love this about people. Happiness. I realized in that moment that I was truly a piece of shit for some of the things I had done. But as I stated earlier, I have found peace. Suddenly, a man sits down at my table. He was a little older with graying hair and a tattered shirt which looked a little out of place. He grabs my ex's coffee and says, "Thanks. I didn't know that you knew I was coming." I said, "Excuse me, what the fuck are you doing?" He shushed me and let out a small giggle, like a child. He then said, "Let me explain." He explained that what we found that night in San Fran was a very famous site. A site that is only a myth, and they wished it to stay that way. He said this site had been called Mariana's Web, though it has never been established as Mariana's Web properly. It was just dubbed that by the public, not by the users. And its name and routing changes almost every minute. We happen to be given a string of commands to get in the back door, which have changed since. He said that the unnamed cult was watching me, and that their cult was more powerful than any government because they control the corporations, who control the government through special interest groups. They admired our commitment and our intelligence when it came to problem solving. He further explained they gain power through intelligence gathering, but also in other more physical forms. Even things like Red Room networking security and other illegal avenues on the deep web. They were a collective of the richest and most intelligent people on the face of the earth. He also stated, "Now you know what we are. So now just forget about us." They just wanted to see what we knew and to learn more about this encryption that we had on our devices. I told him it was mostly Impulse who did the encryption on our computers. And he said, "Well, that's too bad." And he got up and he left. I sat there trying to compute what he meant. But I think I already know, as hopefully you do too. Do not go searching for them. They will rip your lungs and entrails out. That was the threat I got about a month later in an email. I never heard from Impulse again, or his friend from online, though there is some evidence that he did not make it, based off of some obituaries that I had found. I don't know who sent the text to me in the hotel that day. I've tried to look into it, but I've gotten nowhere. Tom, I never heard from him again either. Since all this, I have found peace within myself, and I accept death as best I can, because I do not know what will happen to me in the future. I will not be returning to this email, and there are many IPs attached to this account. Though, I have left you some clues on how to reach me within this email. Everything you need is in front of you, and I will supply you with some further evidence. If you crave your curiosity, you will find me. You may use this story, or not. It does not matter to me. Or even if you believe it or not, I don't care. I haven't told anyone this story, and I just need to blow some steam off about it. P.S. The following is my gift to you, because no one else knows what the fuck they're doing. I will keep it simple, since you and I do not think alike. Some parts of the email have been omitted. Continuing. This information may seem fantastic to you, and indeed it is, but I assure you it is all true. The clues that I have left you within this email may be dissected using common sense. If you want more, find me. I have nothing to hide. I just like to challenge people to a good game of puzzles and cryptography. More of the email has been omitted here. Thank you, friends. I look forward to monitoring your search, if I'm not already dead. Maybe I'll have an opportunity to connect with you again, if I wish. Yours truly, No Name.